Just as the bride was about to say, "I do," the pastor dropped the Bible. His eyes locked on the groom's hand, and suddenly he whispered, "Stop the wedding." Gasps filled the church. The groom's face changed. And what they saw next, no one could ever forget. Hello beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel, Yellow Heart. Whether you're joining me again or you're brand new here, you are so welcome. I cherished and value each and every one of you because you are my strength and my backbone. This space is where stories breathe and hearts heal. Today's tale is not just a story, it's a revelation. So sit back, relax, and get ready to experience something unforgettable. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because this journey is one you'll want others to walk with you. Now let's begin. The morning sun danced across the elegant stained glass windows of St. Augustine's Cathedral in Florence, Italy. The grand old church, a blend of Gothic and Renaissance beauty, was adorned with white roses, golden lilies, and hanging crystals that caught the morning light like stars trapped in glass. It was the perfect day. Isabel Moretti, the only daughter of renowned wine magnate Lorenzo Moretti, was finally marrying her fiancé, Nathaniel Blake, a charismatic American businessman who had swept her off her feet a year ago during a gala in Paris. Their romance was a whirlwind, passionate, intense, and covered by nearly every tabloid in Europe. To the hundreds of guests present, this was more than just a wedding. It was a merging of empires, a fairy tale union. Everyone who mattered was there. Fashion icons, politicians, celebrities, and even discreet members of royal bloodlines. But amid the splendor and smiles, one man stood quietly in deep contemplation. Pastor Emilio De Luca. The officiating priest had served in the cathedral for 32 years. He had seen hundreds of couples, happy, nervous, unsure, even secretly broken, but something about this groom didn't sit right with him. Not at all. The uneasy priest. As Nathaniel stood at the altar, dressed in a tailored navy tuxedo with a white rose pinned to his chest, he smiled for the crowd. His blue eyes sparkled under the dome of light. He looked like the perfect gentleman, the dream groom every woman would envy. But Pastor Emilio wasn't looking at the smile. He was looking at the hands. The groom's hands trembled, not from nervous excitement, but as though they were fighting something, like suppressed rage. His jawline twitched, and his eyes occasionally darted across the crowd like a man scanning for an enemy. Strange. And then there was the subtle detail most would overlook. A barely visible scar that ran from behind Nathaniel's ear down to his neck, disappearing into his collar. The priest's eyes narrowed. Something about that scar tickled a memory from long ago. Something dark. "Are you all right, Father?" the altar boy whispered beside him. Emilio didn't answer. He was watching, listening, praying. He walked over to the groom under the guise of adjusting the microphone. As he did, he leaned in and softly whispered, "You've been in this church before, haven't you?" Nathaniel's eyes flinched. Just for a second. Barely perceptible. But enough. The priest stepped back slowly, his heart thudding louder than the organ music. Hidden past. 15 years ago, the church had been the scene of a quiet but traumatic exorcism. A teenage boy had been brought in by his grandmother from America. He had fits of uncontrollable anger, blackouts, and claimed to see things no one else did. He had once attacked a nun, speaking in a voice that wasn't his. That boy had a scar. That boy's name was also Nathaniel. But no one else knew of that event. Emilio had buried the memory, believing the boy was saved and sent home. Could this be the same Nathaniel? The bride arrives. Just as tension quietly mounted within the priest, the heavy wooden doors swung open and Isabel stepped in, stunning in a long-sleeved lace gown with a diamond veil passed down through generations of Moretti brides. The crowd gasped in admiration. She was radiant. She walked down the aisle slowly, holding her father's arm. Nathaniel's face lit up in a way that seemed genuine, too genuine. As she reached the altar, Isabel smiled lovingly at him. He took her hand gently and mouthed, "You look beautiful. Let us begin," Pastor Emilio announced. But even as he opened the Bible, he couldn't shake the chill crawling up his spine. He was convinced now. This was the same boy. Terrifying flash. Just as the priest began the ceremony, something happened. Nathaniel squeezed Isabel's hand so tightly that she winced. His eyes glazed for half a second. Then he blinked and smiled again as if nothing had happened. The crowd didn't notice, but the priest saw it. He paused. "Isabel and Nathaniel, today you are joined in holy matrimony," he started, his voice steady but mind in turmoil. "If there is anyone here who knows of a reason why these two should not be joined, speak now or forever hold your peace." A quiet moment passed, and then the chandeliers above flickered. The cross on the wall behind the altar tilted unnaturally, as though being pulled. The candles beside the Virgin Mary statue hissed and went out. Gasping sounds filled the air. The organ stopped mid-note. Then silence. Pastor Emilio slowly closed his Bible. "I can't go on," he said quietly. "The bombshell." A murmur spread through the crowd. "What's going on?" Isabel whispered, confused. The priest turned to Nathaniel. "You were here 15 years ago, under a different name. Nathaniel James Hart." Nathaniel's smile froze. "You were possessed," the priest continued softly. "I performed your deliverance, but we never knew if it was truly successful. Why are you here again? Why didn't you tell anyone about your past?" Isabel's eyes widened. "What is he saying? Nathaniel, what is this?" The groom's lips trembled. His eyes rolled up slightly and then he collapsed. But as his body hit the floor, a horrifying thing occurred. A voice, not human, growled from his lips. "She's not yours to protect, priest." Screams erupted. Guests stood in panic. Some ran. Isabel fell to her knees beside Nathaniel, sobbing. A wedding turns to war. Church assistants tried to lift Nathaniel, but his body convulsed. His face contorted, and his voice dropped to a guttural growl. Pastor Emilio grabbed the crucifix from the altar. "I cast you out, spirit of darkness." "No," the voice shrieked. "She belongs to me now. This marriage seals the pact." "What pact?" Isabel cried. "The child of power born of your bloodline, through him, completes the bridge between worlds." Emilio gasped. The Moretti family had long been rumored to be descendants of ancient seers. If the spirit possessed Nathaniel and married Isabel, the offspring could be a portal. "Cancel this wedding," Emilio shouted to the crowd. "He is not the man you think he is." Hidden agenda. Security rushed in. Nathaniel was restrained and taken to the rectory. Investigators soon revealed shocking documents hidden within his villa. Ancient texts, occult diagrams, and disturbing photographs of Isabel taken before they met. He had been watching her, following her family for years. He wasn't some stranger from a gala in Paris. He was planted, trained, a vessel prepared by a secret cult to infiltrate the bloodline. And no one saw it coming, except one priest. The aftermath. The wedding never happened. Isabel withdrew from the public eye. Nathaniel was taken to a secured mental facility in Zurich. But at night, even under sedation, he'd whisper her name in that voice. The Moretti estate fortified its properties. Surveillance increased. They never spoke of the wedding again. As for Pastor Emilio, he went into early retirement. But his final message before leaving echoed through the media for months. "The devil wears tuxedos. Evil does not come with horns, but with flowers, rings, and charming smiles. Be vigilant. Not every wedding is from heaven." 2 years later, Isabel lived a quiet life in Tuscany, managing vineyards and staying out of the spotlight. But on her 30th birthday, a package arrived at her doorstep. It contained one item, a wedding invitation, and the groom's name, Nathaniel Blake. The date, today. The invitation from nowhere. Isabel's hands trembled as she stared at the ivory envelope in her hands. The wax seal was red, old-fashioned, bearing the same sigil the investigators once found hidden in Nathaniel's villa, a circle with an eye inside a flame. Her heart thudded. This had to be a joke. Her fingers, though hesitant, peeled the envelope open. The invitation inside shimmered faintly, the words printed in gold ink calligraphy. You are cordially invited to complete the ceremony you interrupted. Bride, Isabel Moretti. Groom, Nathaniel Blake. Date today. Time midnight. Location, the church where it all began. She dropped it. Her knees buckled. No, she whispered. This can't be real. Her assistant, Lucia, rushed in after hearing her scream. What is it? Are you okay? Isabel pointed wordlessly to the invitation on the marble floor. Lucia picked it up, read it, then turned pale. Who sent this? Isabel shook her head. I don't know. But if this is what I think it is, have to go back. I need to end this. The priest returns. That same evening, deep in the Apennine Hills, Pastor Emilio knelt in silence before an old wooden cross inside a secluded monastery. He had lived in self-imposed exile for 2 years, far away from Florence, far from St. Augustine's Cathedral, and far from Isabel Moretti. But he hadn't forgotten. When he opened his tiny wooden mailbox near the gate that morning, he knew something had followed him. Inside it lay a single envelope, the same sigil, the same gold ink message. Your final wedding to officiate. Tonight. Midnight. He didn't speak. He simply folded the paper, rose to his feet, and packed his old Bible, holy water and crucifix. I knew it wasn't over, he murmured. Midnight at the cathedral. At exactly 11:59 p.m., the doors of St. Augustine's Cathedral creaked open. A cold wind blew through the aisles, snuffing out the few candles left burning. The massive hall was empty, save for a single line of red rose petals leading to the altar. It looked like the ghosts of the past had returned to finish the job. Isabel stepped in, her black coat fluttering behind her. Her heart pounded against her ribs as she clutched her rosary. She was alone, or so she thought. I knew you'd come, a deep voice echoed from the shadows. Nathaniel stepped out. But he was not the same man. His eyes glowed faintly, and his face looked hollow, gaunt, almost decaying. Yet his smile was unchanged. You never really knew who I was, he said softly. But I always knew what you were. I'm not afraid of you, Isabel whispered. You should be. A bell chimed midnight. And then, Pastor Emilio entered from the side doors. No one is getting married tonight, he declared, holding up his crucifix. Nathaniel sneered. You think your relics can stop destiny? No, Emilio replied. But her will can. The bride's decision. Nathaniel reached into his coat and pulled out a ring, twisted and black, pulsing with faint red light. This is the final seal, he said. Place it on your finger, Isabel, and the union is complete. You will never age, never die. And your child will open the gates between our worlds. I would rather die than become your bridge, Isabel spat. The candles around them burst into black flame. Emilio began chanting in Latin, stronger now, louder. Nathaniel roared in a voice that made the walls quake. The stained glass windows shattered. A thunderstorm erupted outside. You think you can stop this, priest? I was chosen. You were cursed, Emilio shouted. And I'm ending it. Nathaniel raised his arms. The cathedral groaned as if alive. The altar cracked. The floor beneath them opened slightly to reveal swirling shadows, voices screaming from below. And still Isabel stood firm. She took the ring from Nathaniel's hand and flung it into the pit. You'll never control me. He lunged at her. But she screamed one word. No. A blinding light burst from her chest. A force neither man nor demon could resist threw Nathaniel backward. He hit the altar with a sickening crack. And suddenly, the shadows stopped. The final confrontation. Smoke rose from Nathaniel's chest as he writhed on the floor. You were never just a bride, Emilio said in awe, stepping beside Isabel. Your bloodline wasn't meant to open a door. It was meant to close one. Nathaniel's voice warped, fading into a hissing growl. "This world is not safe," he whispered before his body collapsed into ash. Silence fell. Isabel sank to her knees. Emilio knelt beside her. "It's over," he said softly. "No," Isabel said. "It's just beginning." Secrets in the ashes. The cathedral was sealed that night by the Vatican. No one spoke publicly of what happened. Officials claimed a gas leak caused structural damage. But Isabel knew better. Weeks later, hidden among the ruins, they found an ancient manuscript buried beneath the altar, one that described 7 bloodlines across the world, families meant to guard the barrier between life and the abyss. The Moretti family was one of them. And Isabel was now their only living descendant. The world watches. News broke that Isabel Moretti had renounced her inheritance, donated most of her fortune, and disappeared from the public eye. But she hadn't vanished. She was searching for the others. Because if Nathaniel was only one vessel, then more could come. And next time there might not be a priest to stop the wedding. A whisper in the dark. Somewhere in Romania, a child was born under a red moon. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The doctors called it a genetic anomaly. His mother died during childbirth. His father, unknown. But in the shadows of the hospital room, a man in a dark suit stood smiling. He picked up the child and whispered, "Another gate has been opened." The watchers awaken. Deep in the Swiss Alps, under a monastery carved into a glacier, a hidden order stirred. These were the Custodes Eterni, the Eternal Watchers, an ancient fellowship sworn to monitor threats to the veil between the living and the damned. Brother Matthias, their leader, read the encrypted message from their outpost in Romania. A child born under the red moon. Mother perished. Pupil dilation confirmed. The prophecy may be unfolding. He turned to the arched map of the world painted in blood and ash. 7 stars were marked. One of them pulsed now. "Sound the bells," he commanded. "Inform the last of the bloodline. Tell her it has begun." Isabel's new mission. In Morocco, Isabel walked alone along a sun-scorched path between clay brick villages. Her once perfect hair now tied back in a messy braid. She wore no makeup. Her designer life was behind her. A boy approached her, silent, and handed her a folded parchment sealed with wax. It bore the symbol of the Custodes Eterni. Inside only 4 words. "The child has arrived." Her heart dropped. She had hoped the fight ended with Nathaniel. But evil doesn't die. It only sleeps, and now it was stirring again. She boarded the next plane to Zurich, bound for the monastery of the Watchers. The blood scroll. Inside the monastery, Isabel was shown something never before revealed to outsiders. The blood scroll. Ancient Aramaic symbols etched in a skin-like material. The scroll spoke of 7 bloodlines and 1 final gate. Each bloodline held a key. If all 7 were united in corruption, the gate would open fully. Isabel was one of the few born with a countermark. Her soul had been destined to resist the darkness. "We must find the child," Matthias warned. "Before they do." "Who are they?" Isabel asked. Matthias paused. "The Brotherhood of the Black Flame. They've existed longer than most religions. And they believe the child is their Messiah." The cult emerges. In a ruined castle in Bulgaria, cloaked figures surrounded the infant in silence. The leader, a veiled woman known only as Mother Ignara, lifted the child into the moonlight. "He bears the gift," she whispered. "The same power that lived in Nathaniel. But this time without the flaw of love." The cult had failed with Nathaniel. He fell in love and strayed from their plan. But this child would be raised in darkness, trained for one purpose: to unite the bloodlines and open the abyss. "Prepare the journey," Mother Ignara said. "Tonight we move west. The girl will come. And when she does, the second gate will open." The gathering. The Watchers and Isabel identified 3 other known descendants from the sacred bloodlines. 1. Ravi Deshmukh, a historian in Varanasi, India. 2. Elena Petrova, a blind violinist in Russia. 3. Samuel Nyarko, an orphan and tech prodigy from Ghana. All three were being watched and hunted. Isabel and brother Matthias split their team. Isabel was to retrieve Ravi and Elena, while Matthias went to protect Samuel. They had one goal: protect the bloodline, stop the child, seal the gate forever. Fire in Varanasi. By the time Isabel reached Varanasi, Ravi's house was engulfed in flames. Locals said a group of foreign monks had entered hours earlier. She found Ravi unconscious in a nearby alley, beaten but alive. "They wanted the pendant," he murmured. Around his neck was a crescent-shaped stone with glowing runes. It matched the symbols on the blood scroll. "They said I was one of the 7, Ravi gasped. "That a child would bring an end to our world." "You're not alone anymore," Isabel promised. "We're fighting back." Violin in the mist. In Moscow, Elena Petrova played her violin outside the Bolshoi Theater. The haunting melody caused people to weep. She didn't know her music triggered ancient memories in those with spiritual sensitivity. But the cult knew. They sent a silent assassin to steal her ring, a family heirloom that bore a key symbol to the Bloodgate. Isabel arrived seconds before the blade struck. Elena screamed as shadows surged. Isabel shouted a verse in Latin, and the shadows recoiled. Ravi struck the assassin down with a heavy branch. "You're safe," Isabel told Elena. "But we need to run. Now." The boy from Ghana. Brother Matthias arrived in Accra, Ghana, just as armed men were closing in on a small apartment. Samuel Nyarko, 15, had hacked into global banking systems without knowing why. Drawn to numbers that formed demonic coordinates. He was one of them. But he was unaware of his destiny. Matthias helped him escape. "You are special," he said. "And not because of your mind. Because of your soul." As they fled into the night, Samuel asked, "What do they want from me?" "To open a door," Matthias replied grimly. "One that should never be opened." Reunion in Rome. Isabel, Ravi, Elena, Samuel, and brother Matthias all gathered in an underground chamber in Rome beneath the ruins of the Colosseum. There, hidden beneath ancient stones, was a sanctuary containing another part of the blood scroll. It showed a disturbing prophecy. "When 4 of the 7 gather, the child shall rise and seek the 5th. And when the 6th falls, the 7th shall turn. And the gate shall bleed." They were running out of time. The 5th bloodline dies. Call came from Brazil. The 5th bloodline, an indigenous healer named Tiago, had been murdered. His village burned. The cult took his body. "We need to stop the child," Isabel said. "He's already 5 steps ahead." But Matthias was pale. "Worse," he whispered. "We have 5. The cult has 2. And the prophecy says when the 6th falls, they'll come for Elena next," Samuel interrupted. Everyone turned. "How do you know?" Isabel asked. "Because I saw it," Samuel whispered. "In my dreams. And she dies tomorrow. A sacrifice in Spain." The team relocated to Toledo, Spain, hiding inside an old cathedral. At midnight, the cult attacked. Shadows poured through stained glass. Walls bled. Statues wept. Elena stood in the center, her violin ready. "I was born blind for a reason," she said calmly. "I see in sound." As the cult closed in, she played a melody taught by her grandmother, an ancient code of vibration that destabilized evil spirits. The shadows screamed. But then a dagger. It pierced her side. She collapsed in Isabel's arms. "I'm sorry," Elena gasped. "I see the gate now. It's not a door. It's a mirror." And with those words she died. The betrayal of blood. Only one descendant remained unknown. And the prophecy said the 7th would turn. That night, Ravi vanished. Samuel found his journal, full of doubts, questions, dreams of power. "He's going to them," Samuel said. "Then we go after him," Isabel growled. "No," Matthias said. "He's already made his choice. We prepare for the end. The final wedding. In a castle in Germany, deep in the Black Forest, a wedding altar had been prepared. The child, now grown rapidly to teenage years due to dark rituals, stood at the altar. Ravi stood beside him. Mother Ignara smiled. One last ritual. A union of blood and flame. But they weren't expecting Isabel and Samuel. The final battle began. Light against shadow. Latin verses against curses. Data hacks against ancient spells. In the chaos, Samuel reached the altar. He looked at the child and whispered, "You don't have to do this." But the child stared at him and whispered in return, "I was made for this." Samuel made a choice. He grabbed the child and jumped into the flame portal as it opened. The gate collapsed behind them. Silence. Ravi screamed as he was dragged away by shadows. A world healed. For now. The Brotherhood was shattered. The Watchers burned the last of the scrolls. But Isabel stood alone in the ruins, holding Samuel's glasses. He had sacrificed himself. The world never knew. Newspapers spoke of earthquakes, lightning storms, freak fires. But Isabel knew better. Somewhere beyond the veil, the child and Samuel still battled. And as long as she lived, she would watch the stars, waiting. Because if the wedding ever completes, the world will end. And that brings us to the end of today's journey, my dear family. Thank you so much for spending this precious moment with me. Whether you laughed, cried, reflected, or simply listened, know that your presence here means more than words can say. As you go, I speak peace into your life. May your heart be light, your steps guided, and your days filled with unexpected joy. May the doors that are meant for you swing wide open, and may every delay turn into divine direction. You are seen. You are loved. You are never alone. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and stay blessed. If this touched you in any way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a little light today. With all my love, this is ZITA'S Stories signing off. God bless you always. Yellow Heart.